Awesome. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for a discussion about mental health and the outdoors with Blue Star Families Deploy Fellow and industry experts. My name is Victoria Ochoa. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran with a passion for the outdoors and a fervent advocate for mental health for both active duty service veterans and their families. Joining me is one of our wonderful Deploy Fellows, Nicole Rawlinson. Nicole's an active duty Navy spouse and a mother of two school-aged children. She currently works to bring military families together in outdoor spaces through the Blue Star Outdoors program as the Blue Star Outdoors Deploy Fellow. She has several years of informal education and public outreach experience in library, museum, and interpretive spaces, developing and supporting public outreach programs, inspiring young people and building up resilient future leaders while creating relationships and connecting communities. Thank you for joining us, Nicole.
Thank you.
Also joining us is Dr. Ingrid Herrera-Yee, one of our very knowledgeable BSF Advisory Board members, and Kaylee Brown, co-founder of Military Wild. Dr. Ingrid Herrera-Yee is an Army Reserve spouse, and she's also a mother of three. She's a clinical and research psychologist and mental health subject matter expert with 18 plus years of combined experience in policy, clinical practice, research, teaching, program evaluation, and project management. She specializes in suicide prevention, trauma, resiliency, and military first responder mental health. She's also passionate about serving underserved bilingual Spanish-English populations in her various roles. In one of her most recent roles, she was the director of the National Academy of Medicine's Action Collaborative on Clinician Wellbeing. She's also currently co-chair on the Blue Star Families REI initiative, where she has been supporting their social impact research report focused on military and veteran families of color. And finally, we've got Kaylee Brown. Kaylee's engaged to her active duty Air Force partner, Sarah. She's also the co-founder and vice president of the 501c3 Military Wild, an organization that strives to provide opportunities for military families to get outdoors safely. She also works as a program manager for the Virginia State Parks Department, where she mentors AmeriCorps members who are serving with the Virginia State Parks. For the last 4 years, she and her team at Military Wild have been working to create a space within the military community for families to get out and meet each other, regardless of outdoor experience, race, gender, or military status. They have so far created a community of over 10,000 active duty retirees, veterans, and dependents throughout 14 chapters across the country, run by 25 volunteer ambassadors. Wow, that's amazing. Now let's get down to business and discuss mental health and how it affects our military families. As we all know, the stresses of the military lifestyle can contribute to adverse mental health outcomes among service members, veterans, and their families. So why do you all believe that a topic such as mental health in the outdoors is important for our audience?
Well, I'll go first. The short answer for me is that mental health is health, right? We can't enjoy having a fully healthy life without having our mental health. And so there's a lot of documented evidence that a connection with nature can positively impact our mental health. And some of those documented benefits that come from human interaction with nature are reduced stress and anger, better cognitive performance, increased positive effects, so including feelings of calm and awe, and a sense of connection to something larger than yourself. Not only that, but when communities are healthy, everyone feels better. And so when communities can get outside and create connections with each other, that only increases our mental health benefits as well.
Okay.
And I think there's so many variables in our community and our lifestyle. It feels really helpful to have something to anchor to. So I know at Military Wild, we focus on setting those events and those hikes monthly. And I think that having that window of time to know where you can take a break from everything else that you're worried about, PCSing, childcare, deployments and things like that. I think it really helps to have that time and space to really focus on and know that you can take a breather from everything else that's going on.
And I think it's important too, because, our audience, so everyone who's watching here, we're living in the COVID world. And, there's a lot of tips, tricks, there's a lot of confusion. Mental health is very prominent. So a lot of people are suffering from everything from anxiety and depression to, even sadly, we're losing people to suicide. And there's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of information, but often, something as simple as, going outside, being active, it's not discussed, and it's not, the benefits of that are not discussed. And, in so many ways, it's so helpful. And we'll talk about that more later. But, I think providing this type of information and the resources around it, is so vitally important, because it's really not talked about. I'm actually really happy that these two subjects were put together. I can say it's the first time that, in my very long career where this has been a focus, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for chiming in, everybody. Let's start putting out some data. So more than half of active duty family respondents to our 2020 Military Family Lifestyle Survey reported that COVID-19 has made their own mental health worse by 59%, and their children's mental health worse by 52% or more. I can only imagine what the statistics are now dealing with Omicron. So those are some really striking numbers. What is Blue Star Families doing to help alleviate some of the stressors from COVID-19 on our military families?
Go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
Well, I know there's a lot of sort of programmatic, so I'm just going to jump in really quick with sort of an overarching, in terms on the research side of things. We are really asking a lot of questions. We've had pain points polls, and a lot of, information coming in from focus groups, looking at, a lot of the outcomes for our military families, specifically, financial implications, issues around childcare, spouse employment, food insecurity, and a lot more. And, the benefit to this is, we get sort of a pulse of where our community is, which can only help us in terms of needs of our community. And that's why the programmatic pieces that you're going to discuss are so important, because not only do we need to know where we're at, but, how are we going to get through this together? And really of note from the research, one of the important findings actually was that outdoor recreational activities, of course, with social distancing and all that, is one of the most common resource needs for our military and veteran family respondents. And, they want to use these, especially during the pandemic. But nearly a third of these military and veteran family respondents reported that this is an unmet need in their local community. So, being able to provide these resources, talking about, what families can do, particularly now that, the pandemic has been going on for so long, that's really, really important and an unmet need. So go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of what we're doing on the research side to ensure that our families are connected to information that will support their resilience. I think that programmatically we are showing up to support families in a lot of different ways, and that starts with just our communications through our channels, right? So sharing out resources via our national and chapter newsletters, sharing tips and everyday ways to kind of keep our families in the know, and making sure that our families know that they have access to amazing resources through being members of Blue Star Families, like a free subscription to Headspace, which is a meditation app that supports well-being and mindfulness. Also, programmatically, our community programs at both national and local levels support families across the country through both virtual and in-person opportunities where families can connect with each other and then also create community. So we have amazing leaders in our chapters in 11 different locations across the country working to develop creative ways to bring military families together, whether that's through local events and opportunities like coffee chats or park events or book clubs or even special events. And then our national programs team is working to build up opportunities that support caregivers and other folks who are looking for respite and camaraderie in those caregiving experiences. Families looking to spend more time outside together, and communities engaging in expanding early literacy for military kids, just to name a few. We've also been really fortunate to be able to host several town halls to educate families, which has given them great resources on understanding our current COVID situations and then how to better navigate them. So thanks for that question.
Thank you, Nicole. Seriously. So military veterans, military families, they're all supposed to be resilient. That's kind of what we're taught. But resilience doesn't mean being invulnerable. Military families have built their strength over time after so many exposures to stress. But even then, this crisis can reach and even exceed limits. In addition, according to an AARP article, only 9% of active duty respondents indicated that they have received mental health assistance remotely before the pandemic began. The figure jumped to 28% after coronavirus erupted. So here's a question to everyone here. What kind of alternative approaches can military families, veterans use to relieve stress? Anyone can jump in.
Nicole, did you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely. I can get us started. So, believe it or not, simply breathing in fresh air can help me to relieve stress, and it can help anyone to relieve stress. Practicing mindfulness by spending purposeful time in the outdoors can help us to tune out some of the stress that's impacting us when we get to tune into nature. And it's been a hard couple of years. Like I am going to say that out loud. I'm going to say it again. It's been a hard couple of years, especially trying to create connections to combat isolation in a new community. My family moved to Virginia from Washington State just under a year ago. And, transitioning to a new community in the middle of a pandemic is exceptionally challenging. So, I really encourage military families, both families who are just arriving to a new duty station and those who have been in their current location for a while, to consider spending time together outside. That way they can reconnect with each other, learn about the land, and use so many of the resources that are available to military families, like the America the Beautiful Pass, which is free for active duty, retired veteran, and Gold Star families. They can join outdoor social groups, or just make a family goal to spend more time outside every day. I think that small steps can make really big impacts. And so, maybe you're not ready to take on a challenge to hike every single weekend, but you can take a walk around your neighborhood. You can find a local park where your family can play. Research shows that just 15 to 20 minutes outside per day can support both physical and mental well-being. And it can help us to manage stress better. So, especially for families with children, that time outside is also super valuable time for free, unstructured play. And we all need that in our lives, really, regardless of age. So just, make that pledge for yourself and for your family and see how you feel after a few weeks of prioritizing that small amount of time outdoors.
I would say, to relieve stress too, just find something that you enjoy. If you love 80s music, that's what I would do. Just, put on some tunes to de-stress when I have a hard day and just kind of rock out to, 80s music. Or, if you, used to enjoy, artwork or, color, do things that, bring you sort of peace and joy. And sometimes we're so busy and with all the stress around the pandemic, and just trying to make ends meet and just run all the time, especially our parents out there, it's hard to kind of remember what you enjoy because you're so busy doing everything you're supposed to do and there's not a lot of time left. Take maybe the first 15 minutes of the day before everyone else wakes up and just make that about you. It's not a huge time commitment. It'll center you for the day, and it can help, relieve significant stress if you just read, breathe, meditate, draw, listen to music, whatever it is, that get moving, whatever it is, that could help you sort of get in that mind space where, okay, I'm ready for the day. I've relieved some of that stress.
And I think the only thing I can add on to both of those really incredible answers is just from what I've seen in our chapters through, Hawaii, Guam, all of our locations, a lot of people feel less stressed when they have a better idea of where they are living and what their community is like. Whenever I see members share hikes, resources, pictures from a hike they went on, waterfalls, overlooks, I almost can sense that relief from people that are commenting how excited they are to know that that exists in their community. I can sense that to them, they feel less stressed. Okay, what am I going to do with my kids this weekend? What am I going to do this weekend? I live in South Dakota and I just moved here and I have no idea what's out there. And someone told me to dread it, and now they have that idea of, okay, there's this really great waterfall that I am capable of checking out on my own this weekend. And I think it's that bright spot of feeling less in the dark of where you're stationed.
I love that. Yeah, just sharing resources with each other, right? And that alone is creating community. It's stopping us from feeling isolated. When we've heard from someone that we know or trust, or at least have some sort of connection to about an activity or something going on, like we feel a little bit more inclined to actually want to do it. So I'm so happy to hear about the ways that, Military Wild has created these communities with people who love the outdoors, and so thrilled that we're working together. Here at Blue Star Families, we've been working to ensure that our members have access to resources so that they can find and access outdoor spaces. And we're partnering with organizations like Military Wild and Alliance for a Healthy Generation and Tinker Garden. We're creating content with activities to keep your families engaged outdoors, and hosting programs like our Outdoor Explorers for All cohort that's just getting started. And we're just working to engage families in opportunities to build community and create connections and find their place outside. And so we're so thrilled to be doing that work alongside you, Kaylee, and the rest of
We're so excited as well.
Family. Yeah,
Strength in numbers.
Absolutely.
So, Kaylee, on the topic of breathing fresh air, getting out, you are with Military Wild. Can you tell us a little bit about how it came to be? What's your mission? What's your vision?
Yeah,
please.
I would love to. So myself and the other co-founders, we dreamt up Military Wild while stationed pretty far from home. It was a lot of our first duty stations on Guam. We were struggling with kind of that feeling that I think we all have at one point or another, where we were isolated from our community, far from home, didn't have a lot of resources to lean on. And we were the new kids on the block, really, is the best way of saying it. And just looking for ways to establish roots in a lifestyle that I don't think makes it very easy to do so. We were born in 2018 as a community that fosters a love for wild places and provides its members with the tools and resources to get outside safely, to explore their communities. So over the past 4 years, we've grown in mission and size. And while hiking is our foundation, you can find our members participating in so many different things: sunset yoga, which is my personal favorite, kayaking trips, other outdoor adventures, and facilitating these opportunities continues to get our members outdoors anywhere, which is our motto, while getting them the fresh air they need to reset, refresh, and rebalance their mental health.
That's such a powerful testament to our connection to nature and to community. Awesome. Thank you, Kaylee.
Yeah.
So can you tell us, I know you did already go into some of the experiences that you've led, that you've heard about, like the hiking, the summits, like all the beautiful stuff. But can you tell me about how you've led, like some of the different experiences you've led for families in the places you've lived? How has this building up the organization impacted you and those you serve?
That's a great question. So we've really branched out. Hiking is our foundation, but we strive to be as inclusive as possible with a myriad of outdoor opportunities. So last year, our Kansas chapter got to partner with Fort Leavenworth's Natural Resource Specialist to host a kayaking event on the Missouri River, where members helped to clean up the river and then also got really special views of bald eagles, heron, other wildlife. It really still, it gives me like this Leslie Knope moment to think about everybody kind of being a little tired, a little dirty, crawling out of their kayaks at the end. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the Missouri River, but it's huge. I mean, it's like a big deal to be a little kayak on there. So I think that's a moment that'll stick with me for a really long time, is just seeing everybody feeling really accomplished. We had a lot of beginners, a lot of people that had never even been in the water before, which takes a leap of faith and a lot of trust, which we value greatly. Our Hawaii chapter this year hosted a volunteer event at a local cacao farm, which is exciting, and I was incredibly jealous. Wish I could have teleported there for that. And members got to learn about local chocolate harvesting and sustainability practices on island. And then our Guam chapter has hosted tree planting events within the community, working with the fire sustainability program there. Guam deals with a lot of wildfires in a specific season. And so our chapter there worked on fire ravaged land to help rebuild those forests with seedlings. So seeing that over time, that growth has been really incredible. And getting outdoors in general is just so important to us. And our passion and our love for community really goes hand in hand with that. if we can make a positive impact on our community and our members, we really feel that we've accomplished our mission. I think that the ripple effect of our members enjoying themselves outside where the military is stationed them feeds into future military families hearing about that positive experience and leads to overall happier memories and better mental health in our community. I think probably everybody in this chat can relate to hearing something negative about a duty station they're about to go to. And that really affects your mindset before you've even had a chance to experience yourself. So I think our members getting to have these experiences, it kind of passes down that chain and creates that overall positive mental health feeling where people feel a little more relieved before they're heading to somewhere that they don't know. So having a reason to get outside consistently, our community and those in it being such a bright part of our lives and my life and personally has been game changing for me as a military spouse in this community. The photos that we get in our inbox, the letters of people telling us that they really made a leap of faith by trying something new. Those are all a testament to really how incredible this venture has been and what it provides for those in our community.
I love that. Kaylee, so what's Military Wild doing to make sure that inclusion is built into your organization? How can our families find a sense of belonging in a new place through participating in those adventures?
I would say that the first biggest step is being open to trying something that you might not be familiar with for sure. Our team strives to provide these outdoor experiences to a wide audience within the military community. We are made up of spouses, active duty members, veterans, retirees. Everybody is different shapes, sizes, colors throughout the US. I do feel personally very strongly that this is seen throughout our chapters, and it brings me great joy when I see kind of the group photos of just such a variety of people, which is what we aim to do. You don't have to be a certain type. You don't have to consider yourself outdoorsy to join us. You don't need to have fancy gear. You can throw your tennis shoes on, show up, and we'll treat you like we've known you forever. And it's really important to me. You are going to be our friend and a part of our family. And our main goal is to get you outside, give you the resources to do that, to make memories. And we stand on the foundation that the outdoors is for everyone. So with that in mind, we continue partnering with like-minded organizations like our beloved Blue Star families. We've gotten to partner up with the USO, Outdoor Rec. We have a bunch of events coming up for our members. So finding like-minded communities to share these experiences with and these opportunities really kind of helps increase our reach across the military community. And then something that I always add, families are always welcome. We have lots of solo members. We try to include everybody. We know that not everybody is married. Not everybody has kids. Some people have fur babies. They're equally important to us. So you're always welcome to come and try it out. We are a no pressure organization. So we take that really seriously. We always want everybody to feel comfortable. And we feel that once a member is able to make a connection with another, that feeling of isolation dissipates and provides the chance to enjoy their new community, which we've touched on a few times.
I love that so much. So we're so excited to partner with you.
We're all going to sunset yoga after this.
I love that. I can't wait to see what this collaboration is going to bring in the future, Kaylee.
Thank you.
So let's continue on. Military families and children. We know that since the pandemic, mental health counseling has been in high demand for all parents, especially MIL kids. It's been difficult for some families to find a counselor. Dr. Ingrid, for you, what are some suggestions for helping children during this time? Also, how can access to the outdoors help mitigate some of the anxiety, depression, emotional outbursts, and isolation they're feeling? We've gone over that a little bit, but I would want to know more.
Absolutely. And you're spot on with these questions. The pandemic has, kind of wreaked havoc on the availability and really focus a spotlight on the shortage of providers out there. And it is just magnified for those of us in the military and veteran communities as well. We all know, there's TRICARE, and then there's only a limited amount of those who serve us. And so, it's vitally important, particularly in light of the fact that, there's been some studies out there. The American Psychological Association, for example, did a poll of their psychologists, and over 74% of them said they're seeing more children and teens with anxiety disorders than before the pandemic. And 60% said they were seeing more kiddos and teens that presented with, depression and depressive disorders. And over 30% at the time said they were seeing way more patients than ever in their entire career. And wait lists are pretty much the norm now. I'm sure that many who are listening to this, can attest to that. And many of these waits, are just months and months. And many of these providers out there, which a lot of families are starting to get to know as they reach out maybe for the first time, they're not taking insurance, medical insurance. So for those that do take it, their wait lists are even exponentially longer. Since the start of the pandemic, hospitals as well have been overwhelmed with emergency department visits for children with mental health emergencies. These rose by 24% for our younger kids under 11 and 31% for our tweens and teens. There was also a more than 50% increase in suspected suicide attempt emergency department visits. So, there's a crisis out there in mental health in terms of access to care. So how do you help when you're on this wait list and you can't find care? How do you help your kids cope while you wait for a provider to become available? Personally, as a parent, we could talk to our kids, ask them how they're feeling. Now, I know they don't really open up about feelings, but really describing to them, that depression, hopelessness, anxiety, some of what they're feeling is normal. And being angry and irritable, also normal reactions to stress. But it's when these feelings become overwhelming or they're consistent or they change the way your child has behaved, sort of their own norm, that's when you have to really sort of, take note and try to, be more of a support, because it really does affect your child's ability to keep doing sort of their usual, going to school, doing their work, having fun with friends. And these might be signs that, they might need more support during this difficult time. And when you're talking about young kids, especially, it's more about their behavior. They're really not able to articulate what they're feeling or what they're going through. They might say that they're very, very bored, or they might appear irritable. These are behaviors to sort of watch out for. For teenagers, they kind of go inward. They hide their feelings. Often they feel like they don't want to bother anyone, or they don't know how to verbalize as well. The typical sort of moody teen that we all, may have been once and we know about in our own personal lives, but it's almost like to the 10th degree. So there is more of that. And, there are ways that we can support our kids. And one of the important things, honestly, is as simple as routine. Keep it to a schedule. So keep them thriving on these routines. Once, they have something that's predictable, that they know is going to happen, this familiarity, this sense that things continue on, this helps them to cope and gives them a sense of control, which, as we all know, even us adults, during COVID, there's this tremendous sense of like, we don't have control over, when is this going to end? And, the masks and, and social distancing and not being able to live as before, there's that loss of that sense of control. And for our kids, it's even more vital that we just keep them to a schedule, keep a routine going, and, make sure that they don't isolate, particularly our teens who tend to you think they're in their room playing video games and you don't see them all day, knock on the door, check in with them and make sure that, that they come out, they interact with the family, make sure that you have like dinner time together at least, socialize with them, talk to them, really try to get away from isolating. And if they're not talking, give them time and space. I recommend, that you check in daily. 99% of that time, they're going to be like, everything's fine. They don't talk to you, but that like 1% of the time when they're going to have one of those days and they suddenly open up to you and talk to you about what they're going through, that's gold. And those just their knowing that you care enough that you're checking in, whether they respond or not, don't give up. Because if you give up, that's when these kiddos can go into crisis, or, they might feel like they don't have anyone to turn to. And most of all, when they do open up to you, validate those feelings. That's so very important. And just watch out for signs and symptoms of a bigger problem. The big one, as I sort of mentioned before, is just that change from their norm, what they usually react to. They're eating, sleeping, are they doing things that they used to enjoy? And if they do start talking about self-harm or, If you suspect any type of suicidal ideation, it's important. This is an urgent situation. It's important to seek care immediately. So your child could be struggling with, the loss of friendships, access to those regular activities. Kids and teens are social by nature. It's a big part of, their development. And this is where you can bring in a lot of these activities outdoors. It's safer anyway during Omicron, which is so very, very contagious. So it's safer with these current in these current times to just be outdoors and distanced anyway. So encourage your kids to engage in activities that'll give them sort of a sense of accomplishment, something that will be fun, social, and it could help to lift their spirits. So including these outdoor activities themselves can help actually protect against and sometimes even treat depression and anxiety in kids. A simple act of making plans, of completing fun tasks and coming up with strategies really helps to decrease feelings of helplessness and hopelessness that they may be experiencing. And speaking biologically, being outside, it increases serotonin, endorphins, it reduces cortisol levels, so they start to actually physically feel better. And that, can help lift the moods naturally. So spending time outside is that very natural way to help regulate the mood, decrease stress, and just overall make them feel better. The bottom line really is, that activities, outdoors, moving, getting those little guys moving, it really is a stress buster. It boosts the mood, fights depression, anxiety, and it's just really a great benefit. And just a quick note on finding a counselor, because I am acutely aware, being in the field, of that very, very critical shortage and of so many families who are waitlisted. And you have to sometimes, just you think to yourself, what am I going to do? It's stressful for a parent to see their child, really suffering through a mental health concern. So, one easy way is to go to your primary care physician for help. They are trained as just general medical folks in mental health, and they can assist with screenings. So they can screen for, just the basics, depression, anxiety, and some other mood disorders, for example. So they can help sort of point you in the right direction, and they can refer you to those, offices they might know that have less of a waiting list or who may have openings currently. There's also Military One Source, where you can connect with, non-clinical counseling and support to help with like the stress and, tips and tricks on how to cope for you and your family. And they offer 12 free sessions, sometimes more. And also, ask people in your circles for referrals. Sometimes they are in the know and they know who may have, some flexibility or availability for your family to be seen. Search for opportunities to access telehealth. And, this, the important piece here is if it's urgent, if you feel like your child is in crisis, even if it doesn't rise to the level of, suicidal ideation, but, there are other issues that you're deeply concerned about, go to the emergency room. There they can at least connect you with treatment options. And oftentimes, provide you with referrals that are more at the ready because they have to urgently get folks seen. So they're more aware of, in real time, who may be available to you and your family. And just a side note that the CDC has also developed a COVID-19 parental resources kit, and it really is full of a lot of great suggestions. So I really encourage you to check that out.
I've just dropped that link in the chat for anybody following along. We're going to continue on to diversity in the outdoors. Thank you so much, Dr. Ingrid. I appreciate all that. Statistics collected from the U.S. Forest Service, the National Park Service, and the Fish and Wildlife Service have shown that although people of color make up nearly 40% of the total U.S. population, close to 70% of people who visit national forests, national wildlife refuges, and national parks are white, while Black people remain the most dramatically underrepresented group in these spaces. This is a very alarming statistic. What programs have been created to address this issue at BSF, especially now that we have a huge diversity and inclusion focus?
Thanks, Victoria. So one of the ways we are really focusing on building up more equitable outcomes for military families of color in the outdoors is through thoughtful and meaningful program recruitment. Ensuring that our families are not only informed of our programming, but invited. And I think that there's like a huge difference between telling someone something's happening and inviting someone to join you on an adventure. And so, ensuring that that we are being that invitation rather than just providing information is incredibly key to making sure that we are doing our part to be inclusive and to promote diversity. And then we're also, working to ensure that diverse families are able to see themselves represented in the stories that are told and in the leaders who are shaping these programs, as well as through the training of our staff. So together with Psych Armor and with financial support from REI Co-op, we actually developed a curriculum and facilitated conversation around equity, diversity, and inclusion in the outdoors. And that is guiding our programs as we consider equity impacts in our programmatic decision making. I just can't stress enough that the opportunity to learn about and understand the historical trauma that has impacted communities of color and often led to this uneven use of outdoor resources and recreation is integral in the process of developing programs that are inclusive and being sensitive to the experiences that people may have had that lead to a resistance to recreate outside, and increasing overall representation in outdoor spaces. When we are working to ensure that our families and communities are healthy and resilient, and we work to ensure our military families of color feel welcome and resilient and a sense of belonging in outdoor spaces, we are not only inviting them to experience the benefits of outdoor recreation and connection, we are helping our entire community. Because when we all feel good, we are doing the most good.
I love that. Thank you, Nicole. That is so true. So oftentimes there's an assumption that helping military families of color excludes other families, but we know that's not true. In conclusion, thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. It's been an amazing webinar. Take care of yourselves, everyone, your families, and spend some time outdoors as much as possible for your mental health. Also, please check out the link to the resources that we mentioned today. I'll be dropping some more in chat later. In addition, join us for our REI events on February 2nd and 3rd for understanding the experiences of military families of color. We value you and your time, everyone who's joined along today, and we wish you the very, very best. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, ladies, for your valuable advice. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.